Well, I mean, I like to take people on a journey, even when I'm speaking publicly and in all the stuff I do, I like to show people stuff that they just didn't see at first. So the book's a bit like that, really. Over the years speaking, people always say to me, I try and think like a fraudster, or I try and think like a cyber criminal. Um, and my answer has always been the same. I always say, I'm really sorry to hear that, because my life in the younger years wasn't a nice place to have been, and I go through a lot of childhood trauma. I'm definitely not using it as an excuse, because it's not an excuse. However, um, I think that most people that have traumatic problems in their childhood are definitely more susceptible to commit crime. You'll have to obviously go and read the book to find out. But yeah, that's kind of, the takeaway is that crime is not something that people just do. But you'll have to read the book to find out exactly more of what I'm saying, really. I've had like so I have a good relationship with universities all over the place, but in particular with Lancaster University, who have really, they really understand what I'm saying in there, and that they understand what we're trying to do. They do something called lived experience. So getting some of the write-ups from the doctors and professors that are saying that this is, a really kind of important story to be told. That's been amazing for me, because I only want people that have suffered in the same way that I have to understand that they can be better than that, and they can become better people than that. I think the rise is, so far they're talking, 60% rise in fraud and online crime since COVID, which in terms of money, I was looking the other day and it's something like $100 trillion already committed in fraud around the world, which is absolutely gigantic, especially as the economy is suffering so much at the moment. Um, so I think people working from home, I think the offices that are empty, I think the schemes that have been put in place by governments to allow companies to stay afloat often get attacked and abused by criminal networks. And that's definitely been something that they've seen massively, for sure. Most definitely. So the way that I always say to people about, I say, there's not a computer serving a prison sentence on the planet. Yeah, so that means that every single time someone's been hacked, there's some human somewhere that's pushed a button or has created a code that goes off and does that. So I definitely say that, crime has evolved into a digital world now, and we are all greatly affected by what happens to us on the internet. Um, but at the same time, the human element plays a massive part. Most people get socially engineered. I'm sure that most of the people that will be watching this would have seen text messages from HMRC, or they would have seen text messages claiming to be Amazon and click the links here, or you get a phone call from the fraud squad at the IRS. Whatever it may be, people use all these fear tactics. And in times like now, where the fear tactics are even stronger than they ever could be because of COVID, uh, yeah, I mean, it's really easy pickings, really. Companies should definitely start focusing their efforts on their people, because so on many tests, so we actually do what's called holistic penetration testing. Yeah, so where we learn from the companies that we're targeting, we learn all of their vulnerabilities as we're going, and by doing that we can strike at any point. So a company may be great at digitally securing themselves online, but of course their security that allows access to their secured servers is outsourced to a third party, because it's the building that they're renting, or some other reason. um, those things, they all affects all of us, in fact, because for a long time we always hear about data hacks and all this stuff, and people always ask, what are the data hacks? Data hacks is our information getting hacked and stolen. There's a really good website out there called Have I Been Pwned? Yeah, or Pwned. Have I Been Pwned? That you should go to if you believe you've been caught in a hack, and it will tell you what email addresses have been caught out there. I mean, but there should be plenty more of these things out there. And the guy that invented it, he gave it to everyone for free to check. So this kind of, we need to start understanding as humans the mistakes we make, whether that be in the place of work or at home. And that's really important. Passwords and vital information that we have that's ours can all be used back on us. I can ring any company up once I've got a bit of information on them and start making calls against that, and that's kind of where we need to be at. I know we don't want to always continuously be suspicious, and in the past I may have been accused of being a bit scaremongery, but it's never scaremongering. It's just stuff that we see happening that's current, that we believe can become a massive risk. And so at that point we try to highlight stuff like that, and people will always take it to your personal life. Even if you're working for a corporate, I'm not just going to, as a criminal, I wouldn't just attack you in your corporate 9 to 5 hours. And that's how corporate world thinks. And it really needs to stop thinking like that, because everyone's working at home now because of the current climate around the world. Well, with that comes a lot of relaxation of people working at home as well. And we need to be aware of that. No, I don't think so. I mean, a lot of our clients that we work with on a regular basis, they are continuously updating their training. And nowadays, no one wants to just have a tick box, right? No one wants to just have a tick box compliance training, because if you're training just in tick boxes, then people will react just by a tick box. So as a criminal, if I know what's on that tick box, I can give you all the correct answers that you want, and it's not going to create any flags. So we started to do something quite different in the marketplace, and that was by creating a drama series that was around training, onboarding in particular for financial institutions that are out there that need to understand that criminals will attack them with stolen data that they buy off the internet from anyone, and we wanted to draw in on the bigger picture of that and get a lot of engagement, and we got a lot of investment from companies for that. So I think there's, they're all learning. Everyone's still learning. There's this horrible elephant in the room when it comes to companies getting hacked, and no one ever wants to talk about it. But just, we're in a place where, look, the fact of the matter is this, right? We can all be hacked. Everyone can be hacked. There's no shame in getting hacked, yeah? Because these guys are relentless and they're playing for major stakes, yeah? The sooner we start talking about it, the sooner we can take the power away from the hacks that they do. Ransomware throughout lockdown is a massive problem. It's happening continuously. We've seen it happen everywhere. And of course, companies just pay the ransoms and sweep them under the carpet, and that we've got to get out of. And they do that because they're so ashamed to be out there in the hack. But look, like I'm saying, everyone can be hacked, including me, including us. No one claims to be 100% secure, and that's because anyone can be hacked. I think that everyone working at home has just been a massive vulnerable risk. And of course you can see there's lots of decisions that will be made, stuff that you won't check out as properly as you would have done in the office. It won't go through the exact checks that it would have done in the office. And this is a place where we need to get to when everyone's working at home, because just like I was saying, everyone kind of at home, we just relax a little more. And that's the biggest challenge for all of the companies everywhere, because if you're a hacker, looking at everyone working at home from unsafe routers, there'll be millions of people globally doing that. and that's a really scary problem, because most people don't even understand what you've got to do to change that, because it's kind of, we believe that it's wrapped up in a complicated language that we don't understand, when in actual fact it's not actually that complicated, and it can be explained quite well. You just got to be reactive, and these are the weak points that challenge a lot of corporates, because they're more interested in making money and doing business, which so rightly they should be in times like now. But of course, with that comes a massive element of risk, of course. I think that we've got now more people online than ever. We have actually generations of people online that we didn't have before, um, and so the risk increases. There's a lot of people that will. Um, there's a lot of people that will kind of suffer massively because of COVID. Yeah, so people that lose their jobs that then end up committing crime. There'll be a statistic for that. The impact of COVID will last for decades, because the child abuse, the domestic violence, the murders, the stabbings, the shootings, all of the drugs, all of the consumptions, how everything changes, is going to impact on society for many years. And that's something that we need to take into consideration going forward as a society, because you know, what history teaches us is that when we have a catastrophic event like what we're having now, um, you know, the aftermath of that is generally quite bad. Yes, I'm actually working on a few exciting big projects at the moment. I've got a couple of TV shows that are in play at the moment, which is really good. And we have our own conference that we put on annually at We Fight Fraud on the 28th of April, which we have a whole load of speakers. I've also I've had the pilot episode of my life story wrote for a drama series, which is quite exciting. Um, so yeah, 2021's been an exciting year already because of the book, and to have all the other stuff going forward is quite exciting. But you know, my purpose is always to help victims of fraud and try and uh, prevent the types of frauds that I used to commit, of course. And by doing that, training people, raising awareness, eventually we start to impact on the problem, and that hopefully is good for society everywhere.